corporate training and other events of that type where it's a company coming in? Do you have room for that type of an event in the future?
You know, if I was more business savvy, um, if I could shake hands with people that I don't necessarily like, um, maybe that's something that I would do. You know what? Nah, I mean, I'm being very honest with you. I don't want people on my farm except for people that I like. It's just, yeah, that's just an old grabby man,
Right.
you know.
So you're not going to bring any goats for goat yoga in the near
No,
future?
no.
Welcome to CooLife Podcast, brought to you by TheRealThingDating.com. www.therealthingdating.com.
Polydor Records for out scouting. This girl grabbed my bangs and ran my head right into the speaker.
Oh,
And everyone here like this, yeah.
When we shot the scene in Good Will Hunting, I didn't know who most of these people were at the time. I mean, they weren't stars. It was Gus Van Sant that directed it. Gus Van Sant was on the floor with Matt Damon's character.
Hunting.
I didn't even know who Matt Damon was at that time.
I'm Eva John. I'm a former candidate for local government. I was a children's television entertainer, and I love this world, and I believe we should take care of each other and have a lot of fun along the way. Welcome to CooLife. Here we go.
and welcome to Cool Life Podcast. I'm Eva John, continuing our conversation with Boris Khaimovich, owner of Maple Crescent Farm. Boris was a professional actor and nightclub manager in the Toronto scene and highly successful and popular nightclubs. Welcome, Boris.
Thank you.
It's always wonderful to have you here, and thank you for continuing this conversation. And you changed your life. You went from literally being a big city slicker to the owner of a horse ranch at a completely different pace. And, you told me before on your other visit here at CooLife that you were winding down having guests on the ranch for public horseback riding. Has that changed at all? Are you having the public come back anytime soon?
No. No. Oh, sorry. Let me think about it. No. Second thought. No. No. You know what? I've maybe to my own detriment, I'm going to stay in my lane. We board horses, and I make hay, and I sell hay, and I feed my horses hay. That's it. I'm good with that. I'm not interested in acquiring more horses in order to offer public trail rides in a litigious society where, my horse would step on somebody's toe and they would sue me. I'm not interested in getting on and off my horse 5 times during a ride and picking up their cell phone while they were taking pictures of their friends behind them. I'm not interested in hiring 4 to 5 staff to be my co-trail guides on the horse. For that matter, I'm not interested in actually being on the horse with strangers. I would rather be either on my horse in the sand ring by myself or with my best friend, riding in the field, or sitting on the tractor and doing hay. I'm fine.
And you're a married man. Do your children ride with you? Does your wife ride with you? Do they love horses like you?
No. My sons never really got into horses at all. My daughter did compete when she was younger, but very much for fun sake. My wife has a horse that she babies, and the horse adores her. But my wife and I have never gotten along riding together. You know, it's like they say, husband and wife shouldn't work in the same place because it creates problems. Yeah, don't teach your kids how to drive, and don't ride horses with your wife.
Oh my goodness. Well, I always thought that would be like the most romantic way to spend time, on a
Yeah,
horse.
romance on horseback is overrated. You're watching too many Hollywood movies.
Clearly, obviously. Well, thank you for setting me straight on that.
We've had marriage proposals on horseback
Right.
here. We've had a number of them actually,
Wow.
and they all said yes, luckily.
Mm.
And it's lovely and romantic for somebody else. For me to ride with my wife, um, we ride in a very different fashion.
Mm.
Um, so yeah.
Wait. I'm not leaving that just there. Okay. So you ride in a different fashion from your wife. So what are your riding styles that are so different that
My wife is a lot more cautious than I am, a little more reckless. Uh, Both our horses, ironically enough, are not really well trained because I've never actually spent enough time to train my horse. So I'm a bit of a hacker. I'll get on my horse and we kind of go and get into trouble together. Um, Kendra, being a little more cautious, doesn't like that, and I don't blame her.
Okay.
That's why I ride with my best friend.
Okay. I see. I get that. Now, you'd mentioned you've had some successful marriage proposals on the trails in the past. Now, did you host any weddings, and do you make room for that at Maple Crescent Farm for hosting an event like a
Um,
wedding?
we've had one wedding. We've had two weddings on the farm.
Okay.
The first one was actually about 4 years after we opened the farm. Um, this gentleman approached me, and we walked two horses out for them. Um, they uh, the young woman rode the horse to the tree. We call it the tree because there's this big old maple
Mm.
in the middle of a field, and that's where they had the wedding. We had tables set up for them and chairs set up for them and everything else. The second wedding was actually one of my staff. They got married on the farm, and there was a bunch of people here, and it was a lot of fun.
Right.
No, I don't. You know what? With all honesty, I'm not a big fan of strangers. Uh, I'm very, very protective of my farm. I don't like people doing stuff on my farm, and yeah, like I said, stay in your lane. I'm comfortable with what I am. I'm fine. Let
So,
other people do it.
so you used to have some fun Halloween events. Do you see the fun Halloween events coming back? I mean, we're in a different world now that COVID is a thing of the past. Um, would you have your fun Halloween events again in the future?
No, no. And again, you know what? I think you touched on something. COVID, I think, destroyed a large fabric of our society. We've
Mm.
stopped mingling. Um, we were distrusting of the other people. We weren't sure whether or not they were going to infect us and kill us and poison us and all the other stupidities. And the other thing is, probably even more so than COVID, is when we did those Halloween events, my kids were little.
Mm. Right.
So they were very much involved, and the boarders that were here had little kids, and and they all grew up together. We still get together for Christmas every year with all the older boarders who've been here for years, who've had little kids, and they all grew up. And it's funny, you look at these kids; they're all 20 years old now. Between 15 and 20 years old.
Right.
And I remember when they were, 3, 4, 7. And it's so, yeah, those days are gone. Do you remember there was a commercial for um, a retirement company or something like that, a retirement investment firm? And I always remember that. There was Spider-Man laying on the beach, and the caption says, "Eventually everybody retires."
At AGF, after 40 years in mutual funds, There's one thing we realize. Eventually,
Come on, jeez.
everyone retires.
No, what was I thinking? What's wrong with me today?
AGF Mutual Funds. What are you doing after work?
I'm not retiring from my farm, but there's just so many things you don't need to do anymore. And I'm fine with that. That's, the nice thing is being comfortable in your own skin.
Right.
I'm fine.
So, Boris, you have a beautiful property, and you did have events there. Now, taking away some of other types of events like weddings or where people might end up straggling or being here and there, how about corporate business events, corporate training, and other events of that type where it's a company coming in? Do you have room for that type of an event in the future?
If I was more business savvy, if I could shake hands with people that I don't necessarily like, maybe that's something that I would do. You know what? Nah. I mean, I'm being very honest with you. I don't want people on my farm except for people that I like. It's just that's just an old grabby man.
Right. So you're not going to bring any goats for goat yoga in the near future?
No.
Not even just for me.
In fact, a number of years ago, when the goat yoga first thing started, a bunch of my boarders started bugging me and my wife about getting some goats, some pygmy goats. Well, my neighbor, who's an old-time farmer, saw that these conversations on Facebook happened, and he said to me, "I see your boarders want you to get goats." I said, "Yep." He goes, "Well, tell you how to build a goat fence." I said, "All right." He says, "You build the best fence you can. Just spare no expense. Build the best fence you can. Then you take a bucket of water and you throw it against the fence. And if water goes through the fence, the goat will go through it." So basically, no, I'm not getting any goats.
Okay. Wow.
Because I don't need to chase goats.
Goats can get through anything, eh?
We have chickens. We have layer hens. They're on a bit of a strike right now because it's cold. They don't want to lay.
Right. Okay. Wow. So then, I don't know of any chicken yoga, but
Nope. But layer hens are usually very friendly. Right. If you go in the barn and you sit down with them, they'll come to you. Right. They'll peck at your boots, and you can pick them up. And as soon as you pick them up and you cradle them, they quiet down. They're very sweet.
I know they certainly have some personality to them, but interesting going forward that you won't be having public events at this time.
Nah.
For now. So we're taking a break to talk about our sponsors and supporters. A reminder, please do send in your comments to info@CooLifeWorld.com. That's info@COOLIFE world.com. And we will read your comments on a future show. And so we'll take our break now to talk about our sponsors and supporters. We'll be back with more Ranch Talk with Boris Khaimovich on Cool Life Podcast. RingFitBoxing.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Stefan Boy.
At RingFit again, we're teaching real boxing. We're teaching techniques that I've used, that other boxers have used. We're teaching techniques that have been passed down to me from my trainer. If they work for me, they'll work for whomever. In fact, we've had actual competitive boxers from RingFit, just whom started off taking classes and have competed and won.
Call 647-347-7063. RingFitBoxing.com. Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. You're listening to the CooLife podcast. We'll be back in 3, 2, 1.
And we are back on CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and we are continuing our conversation with Boris Khaimovich, rancher at Maple Crescent Farm. Boris,
yes,
you have a beautiful pond on your property, and can you do any fishing at your pond?
So we have two properties. Our main home farm does not have a pond on it.
Okay.
The other property has about a 3-acre pond on it. It's not stocked, so no, there's no fish in it, no frogs. One of the reasons when we bought the farm, I told Kendra that this is 22 years ago. When we were looking for a farm, I said, I want at least 100 acres. Well, we got 150. I said I want access to a trail system where adjacent to the Ganaraska Forest, 11,000 acres. I said I wanted to have water on the property. So I'm being optimistic. With global warming, the water will come to me. So for all the environmentalists that are listening to this, no, I'm just joking.
Okay. But you do have a water source. And so in this case, it is a fresh spring pond, or was it originally man-made?
It's a man-made pond, but it's fed by an artesian well, so the water comes out of the ground.
Oh, okay. So then, I guess there was a channeling system dug through.
I don't know. I'm not quite sure because we bought the farm. It already had the pond.
Yeah,
The pond was
okay.
built about 20 years before that,
Okay.
or more. So I'm not really quite sure how they decided where to build the pond, but whatever, it's there.
I see. Well, that will certainly be something. It's a thought if you did want to stock it with fish at any point. And I guess it's just a matter of educating ourselves on which fish might thrive just for a new ecology.
Yeah.
Do you ever do?
It's on the list.
Right. Well, do you ever do any hunting on your property?
No, I don't hunt. I don't hunt. I go to the supermarket and buy my beef. My beef and my lamb I buy from my neighbors,
Right.
who are farmers, and everything else, chicken we get from supermarket. Chicken and pork we get from the supermarket.
See, now that's something I was curious about. If your ranch grows the type of staple foods that your family can use, or do you go to the grocery store for your staple foods?
Most of the year we go to the grocery store for our staples because Kendra does a wonderful job tending to a small garden. We grow some cherry tomatoes, some cucumber, zucchini. She grew a baby watermelon. It was this big. It was very cute. I think we still have it. We haven't eaten it yet. Just some staples. We've grown some carrots, I think, but it's me. I'm not much into gardening, and Kendra is too busy. So, as Clint Eastwood once said, a man must know his limitations. So I know my limitations, and Kendra knows hers, and we've got 8 by 16 foot garden, and we're fine.
Right. There's, I guess, some of the trends. I think people are becoming kind of aware of that sort of self-sufficiency. Feeling.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that, but there's also, the amount of sacrifices that you're going to make for that. Like for the same reason that I heat my house with geothermal as opposed to, burning firewood. Because I don't have the time, the patience, the inclination to go chop wood and store it and bring it in the house every day. And, I guess I take more of the approach of work smarter, not harder.
Right.
We have a farmer's market and everything is grown over there in the summertime. And if I wanted to go over there and buy, wholesome groceries, pick 2 hours before I buy them, and that's what I do.
Right.
Right.
It's a good option. I mean, yes, you've got the room to grow, and you do have a little garden that's, as you said, is taken care of with your wife. But it's nice that you do have that option of fresh, truly fresh, right in your area.
Yeah. In fact, Kendra got very upset with me one day because I bought tomatoes at a store at Costco. Right. They actually have these small tomatoes that I really like, and I bought a box of those tomatoes. And Kendra said to me, "Why did you buy tomatoes? I have tomatoes in the garden." And I said, "Don't worry, honey. I'll eat tomatoes. I'll eat them all. Don't worry about it." But she took it very personal that I actually dared to buy tomatoes when she grew tomatoes. So.
Well, we'll see, right? We'll see in the future then, now that you've learned your lesson.
Yes. Lesson learned.
Right. Now, do you feel like the life you're living now is a healthier lifestyle than when you were a city slicker?
Happier?
Healthier. So do you feel that the life that you're living now is a healthier lifestyle than when you were living in the big city?
I don't know if you could say it's healthier. It's happier. The air is fresher and cleaner. I wasn't a consumer of alcohol in the city. I didn't do drugs in the city.
And I'm assuming you don't do drugs out of the city.
And I don't do drugs. Yeah, so it's not like I became a different person since I moved out here.
Right.
No, I'm the same person that just lived on the farm.
Okay.
So I don't know about health. Like I said, fresh air, and maybe I work a little harder and physically in the summertime. But that's it.
And with that, we're going to take another break to talk about our sponsors and supporters. We'll be back on CooLife Podcast.
ringfitboxing.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Stefan Boy.
At RingFit again, we're teaching real boxing. We're teaching techniques that I've used, that other boxers have used. We're teaching techniques that have been passed down to me from my trainer. If they've worked for me, they'll work for whomever. In fact, we've had actual competitive boxers from RingFit, just whom started off taking classes and have competed and won.
Call 647-347-7063. ringfitboxing.com. Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. This is CooLife Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to CooLife on your streaming service and on YouTube as Hellenique Today. That's HELENIQUE Today. Because that helps us to bring more cool stuff to your ears. You're listening to the CooLife Podcast. We'll be right back.
And we are back on CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and we are continuing our conversation with Boris Khaimovich, rancher. Boris, the last time that you were here on CooLife Podcast, you told us how you needed a little help figuring out what you should be doing first and when a neighboring farmer came by and gave you some pointers when you were out having picnics and just enjoying the land.
Yeah.
Now, since that time, have you found that you're the one offering advice and helpful tips to new farmers and ranchers now that you have experience and knowledge?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I offer advice to farmers and ranchers. I mean, if a neighbor moves, if a person moves into a house not far from us and they ask for help, absolutely it's there. I think honestly, I think my proudest moment, the neighbor that has been so very, very helpful to me in the 22 years that we've been here, David. When David called me up one time, and this is a man whose brain is truly a computer. He imagines everything in his head before he actually gives you the information. He's a master mechanic in tractors, and he's a good farmer, and he's lived here his entire life. His family was here. So anyway, when David called me up and he said, "Can you come and take a look at a hydrant? I've got an issue going on, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and if you got any parts." You know what? When somebody like him, of his caliber, asks me even for an iota of advice, I take it with a great deal of pride and appreciation. And when David said to me that he wanted me to, I have a swather, which is a self-propelled hay-bind to cut hay, but you can also use it to cut grain. And I forgot what David asked me to cut, but he had mixed grain. He had a couple of fields of mixed grain, and he said to me, "Can you go and cut it for me and just put it into a windrow, because then I can pick it up with a."
Now put it into a what?
Into a windrow, a straight line of hay or oats. Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, absolutely. And it's just, I don't think it's a question of pride, actually. I think it's just the fact that I'm able to do something back for a man that's been instrumental in my success. When a neighbor calls up and says, "Are you busy?" and I say no, and she says, "We've got a field of hay that needs to get cut because rain is coming tomorrow, or we need to bale it because rain is coming tomorrow. Are you able to come out?" Yes, because for countless of times, those same neighbors have seen me struggle trying to get the hay in, and they've stepped up and done it for me. So yes, there is a pride in being able to actually be accepted by the community of being good enough to help. That you're not just a yokel, that you've become a local. Actually, that rhymes. Not a yokel, but a local. And that, I take pride in that. I take pride in the fact that people call me up and say, "What do you think we're going to go with this weather?" Or, like I predicted this winter. I don't know if I told you this last time, but I predict my weather based on my apple trees. And my apple trees have been right. My apple trees have been right about the winter 6 years out of 7. In fact, they've been right.
What's the message from your apple trees?
I'll tell you. They've been right when Environment Canada's been wrong, when Farmers Almanac's been wrong. They've been right. And the way I judge my apple trees, and people say to me, "Oh, that's BS," and the apples goes dormant every 2 years. Okay, whatever. You know what? I don't know. This is what I do. If my apple trees, and I've got 8 apple trees, if my apple trees produce big, beautiful, clean apples, we have a mild winter.
Okay.
If my apple trees produce small, shriveled up, wormy apples, or very few apples altogether, we have a cold winter. I can't decipher whether it's going to be snow or no snow. I just know we're going to have a cold winter. So last year, my apple trees, not this past summer, but the summer before, my apple trees were beautiful. They were big apples, juicy, clean, no worms. The people used to just pull up to the apple tree, like some of the borders and stuff, and the Amazon drivers. They would pull up and say, "Can we take an apple?" Absolutely, go help. Go help yourself. And they would literally just eat an apple off the tree and drive away.
Right.
Last summer, out of my 8 apple trees, I had 3 apples.
Oh boy.
So coincidence? I don't know, but coincidence has been right 7 out of 8 years,
Okay.
or 6 out of 7 years.
I'd love to be able to watch that. I'll tell you, 20 years ago, just because I had the heart for it, I put 2 apple trees in my backyard, and just thought it'd be fun. Being a mom, our other place, we also had different types of berries and things, and but it's a big city, so we had a neighbor who would take a shortcut through our yard and use the apple tree as some kind of a hoisting pole, and until that was like sideways and passed away, and then then our surviving apple tree, something similar, except apparently it was a branch that was left going vertical. So we just cut away the tree, and the branch became the new tree, which is now like 15 feet high. But it looks like it wasn't cross-pollinating, so then no more apples. And but a big leafy tree with neighbors giving me smack talk about how that ain't an apple tree, but it was. And until they start breaking in there. So all I can say is, at some point, I might replant the 2 apple trees again and just see, does your theory hold true for me in the big city? I'm going to keep an eye and tell you.
You're going to have city apples. I'm going to have country apples. So country apples are different.
Oh boy. Okay.
And these apple trees actually were planted by not just the previous owner, but her father. And he, I forgot the term, when they split, he grafted the apple trees. He took roots from one tree to the other. Right. Yeah. So I can't even tell you what kind of apples they are. But some of them are red and juicy, and some of them are yellow, green and juicy and a little tangy. So whatever they are, they're good when they're good.
So I have to see if it'll work out with the different type of apples if I get that organized. Now,
well, farmers always predict the weather. They always like to predict the winter. Right. There's the stories about the caterpillar, the orange caterpillar, how big is the belt on it. There's stories about squirrels running around collecting nuts. If there's a lot of, if the nut trees shed a lot of nuts, that means it's going to be a cold winter. So everybody's got a theory. My apple tree theory is just as good as any.
And your apple tree theory has been correct.
That's correct.
Most importantly.
Yes.
Now, Boris, you're out in the country. You're living this life for the past 22 years. Do you ever feel that you'd like to maybe get a condominium in town, in the city, just for some downtime away from the farm sometimes?
Why I wouldn't get a condo in the city. Why would I go to the city? If I go to the city, I want to leave if my wife and I go to a concert, or we go meet friends for dinner at a restaurant, and we're done. We're on the 401 heading home. If I would get a condo, it'd be somewhere south, so my wife can go and enjoy herself in the middle of winter and get some rays, because she likes the beach thing. I couldn't leave it. I couldn't care one way or another about it. But if that would be the only thing I would do.
So there's just no way you'd see yourself, even in the insulated atmosphere of a condo, being back in the big city.
Well, I don't know. No.
I think you meant no.
Yeah, I think I meant no.
It's good to know. It was a delight speaking with you and getting an understanding of the life you live, the life you changed to live on a ranch and to have the peace of and the beauty of nature. Boris, thank you so much for your time. And
Thank
with
you.
that, you're very welcome. We've come to the end of part 2 of my conversation with Boris Khaimovich. Always a pleasure. Until next time, I'm Eva John for Cool Life Podcast.
Bye.
Bye.
And that was our show. Thank you for listening to the very end. Please remember to subscribe through your streaming service to get more access to our guest interviews. Also, please subscribe on YouTube to help support our podcast. Until next time, I'm Eva John for Cool Life Podcast. Thank you for turning me on.